Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something essential for landscape paintings, rocks. Whether they're towering boulders, smooth river stones, rugged ocean rocks, or nestled in a grassy meadow, rocks bring so much depth and character to a scene. So in this 4 square tutorial, I'm going to show you 4 different ways to paint rocks using some of my favorite techniques. This is going to be a great reference for you to use in any of my full-length tutorials, and by the end you'll have a whole toolkit of rock styles ready to go. I've divided my canvas into 4 sections so we can tackle them one by one. Let's jump right in. Okay, for our palette knife rocks, I'm just going to set up our background with just a touch of blue to give us a little bit of a backdrop. Maybe like some sky up here. Just a little bit of color. This is just to have a little bit of base color for our rocks so that it can pop and show a little bit better for the camera. So it doesn't really need to be anything super special, but I just wanted to put a little color and it's going to help us out later. Let's move down to the palette and we'll just pick up some dark sienna and Van Dyke brown and we marble those on the palette knife. Let's pick up a little bit of alizarin crimson as well. Just a really nice brown color, maybe a little bit of midnight black to darken it. And we're going to use this in a couple different stages. So pick up some titanium white and marble it. Now we have a light and a dark. The simplest way for painting rocks is to have your nice dark mixture. Pull out a nice piece of that paint on the knife. So you have a little roll of paint. Then we take our palette knife and put it right up into the canvas and drag our knife. You can use this style for all kinds of rocks. Maybe out here we'll do just like a distant summer mountain. And this one's a little further away. We have a nice dark on the top. Maybe just soften it a little bit. If our light source is coming from the left-hand side, we'll take our highlight color, which we've mixed up a highlight color here. We just want to marble that a little bit more, so we have a couple options. This one's nice and mixed up, so we'll grab that. And going directly with our light source, you just use the palette knife to grab the paint that's already on the canvas. So with our little roll of our highlight color, we drag that right over. These are just some distant summer rocks. I just picked up a little bit more paint by grabbing some on the palette knife. It's loaded with a very small amount. Load that again. Scrape off a little roll of paint, get a roll, and drag your highlights down. I like to pull the knife into the back side of these highlights and just bring a little bit down into the back. Gives you some good shape. We always want to put a shadow on our mountain, so we'll grab some of our mountain color and go right here into the blue mixture that we mixed up. It's just phthalo blue. And pick up some titanium white. And when you marble those colors, you get a really beautiful gray mixture. We want to keep that marble and cut off a little roll. And I mean, I have a really small roll. You almost can't even see it on the knife. And we'll start with our shadows. Now we have a nice gray mixture. Cut off a roll of paint. Just drag your knife down. Sometimes you gotta get in there a little different. And we drag some shadows. And one of the most rewarding things at the very end for any type of a mountain, which we're going to do in all of these, is just a little extra bit of pop, some sunshine. We're going to grab yellow ochre and titanium white. Just marble those two on the brush, grab a touch of bright red, and just wiggle that through there. Now we have a couple different colors and they're marbled. We're going to cut off a roll and we'll pick out just a few areas where the sun may really be sparkling on these. Maybe it's just on the tops where we have some little peaks. And that's it. That's a nice little distant rocky mountain. Kind of like, just a summertime mountain. We just soften out the bottom, lift it up, and you could layer right on top of this infinitely, as many times as you'd like, just continually making the background color darker as you go. Now we have our distant mountain. Let's finish up our closer boulders. Basically, you can use any shape you want using the same exact thing that we just did, dark colors and light colors, to make any boulders or rocks that you might want. You can make them all kinds of shapes, sizes, and maybe you want to do some flat slabs. It's flat on the top and it comes down. And this important part that you focus on is the dark before you put the light. Now we've shaped out all kinds of different styles of rocks. This is like a cliff, we'll call it. We'll close this off and have it like an overhung cliff. Fill it all in. You need it to be dark. You can't put any highlights on this if you don't have these dark spots. And maybe just for fun, we'll do some flat rocks over here. You just have fun with it. You have to have the dark, and the light will never ever show until you put this dark. So put this in first. Get an idea of what you might want your rocks to look like, and put them in. Look at that. Even though I was trying not to create anything, we still have a scene here. Isn't that cool? Maybe it goes all the way up. Who knows? Now, we have a light source coming over here. So let's think about this. We have some shadows here, maybe some highlights on the top and the back side of our mountain, getting a little bit of under light. So we can just soften this out. Think about what we need to know. Where are our highlights? They're going to be on the top or on the back. So we have highlights. Maybe there'll be a few pieces that are still facing over here, just a touch. Who knows? Something like that. Now, shadows. This whole back side is going to be in the shadows. We're just picking up paint, just like before, cutting off a roll of paint, just practicing this technique over and over again. Cutting off a roll of paint, dragging it onto the canvas. This part's really hard to show, but the most important thing to think about is right now we want the paints to get to know each other. We don't need the knife to touch the canvas. We want the paint to touch the canvas. So when you're dragging your highlights across, as long as you have a roll of paint that's standing up, it's nice and thick, we'll be able to get it to grab onto the paint that's on the canvas. So we're actually getting that paint and we're putting just the paint on the side. Only the paint is touching the canvas. The knife is only barely, I try not to touch the canvas, but sometimes it does, right? So just barely. And then the texture and the marble of the paint gives you all of those fun, different varieties. Maybe you don't like this part here. Look at this. We'll just scrape it off, save that paint, we might want it later. Let's put in a little dark, just a little bit down here, and we can do it again. And we have a little bit of our shadow kind of coming down this way. And something fun, because we have our sun over here, maybe we'll have just a touch of light. Let's grab just a tiny bit by cutting off a little bit of paint right on this side, a little bit of light that is just reflecting from this back side. And we'll just very lightly use the knife to grab that paint, not touching the canvas, just the paint. And we're kind of giving it a little bit of a slide. If we have boulders or rocks in a field, as long as you pick out your one grouping and decide a couple layer ideas, what's before and behind, then you can just start laying it out. Our sun is coming from the left-hand side, so we're going to highlight it from that side. Just dragging down a few highlights, maybe this piece, then this one comes all the way down. And we have a highlight here, just a little there. Now, with a clean knife, you can go right up into these and just touch the paint. Grab a little bit of that. Just grab a tiny bit, barely touching. Just grabbing a little bit of paint and giving it some shape. Then you can come back with your shadow colors and get a little bit more depth going on with some more color variety. And we're picking out maybe some more specifics on the shadows. This is kind of reflected light. There's going to be multiple tones on any rock, anything, anywhere. So now we have the base color plus our highlights and our shadows. So we have a lot of variety, and it makes it look nice and fun. And you can use this for anything in the rocks that you want to do palette knife wise. But you know, I'm just going to show you a couple different ways of doing the same thing, more or less. I think I'll just put a little bit more here. Had to think about it there for a second. Let's look at this section here. I'm going to mix up just a touch more highlight, just kind of our simple highlight color, and then we have our shiny highlight color that we're going to come in with later. But let's continue on these rocks and building out our highlights. Now the highlight color is just grabbing on sections of our shadow of our base mountain color. And if you are right-handed, sometimes it's a little bit easier to put the knife, the butt end of the knife, up into the top here and drag it across. It is a little bit harder to film that way, so I don't like to do that all the time, but I'll show you. It's a really fun way to make some nice slopey rocks. You just kind of give it a little bit of wiggle, and we start angling this down, right? See how I turn my hand out like that? Maybe we want some up here, just a little slabby kind of look. Okay, wipe off your knife, go right up into your highlights and give them a little bit of direction on the opposite end. Pull them out to shape and give direction to your little rocks. Maybe you want to come back and pull this differently and put a layer in front. See, we can change it up. Now, we'll build a little bit of a shadow. Titanium white, your mountain mixture in blue, is a very sure bet almost any time to do a shadow on the back side of rocks. Because you're going to be blending some of those colors that you've already been using, it'll help to make it look really natural. For these really small rocks, I like to double load my palette knife. So I have some paint on this end and on this end. This just helps us to get a good bit of paint really right into that back corner right where we want it. We don't want to have big chunks of paint because that's just going to take forever to dry and it'll be really uneven. So we're just giving a nice little glide. I feel like sometimes describing this as like buttering the bread or something like that. Like we're just applying such a small and even coat, and what gives it the texture is the paint that's underneath and the thickness of the paint. It just grabs onto everything. So hopefully you can see that there in this kind of demonstration. A lot of the time, if we're doing rocks, we like to blend the bottom out. And so this, maybe we'll make this, you know, it's going to turn into kind of like a little meadow here. So I just like to clean up the bottom of the rocks and make sure that they all have, you know, like they're setting down into the grass or, you know, the scene that you're painting. So you can just take the rocks themselves and use that color and move it down the canvas. Now you can add grasses into that if you wanted to. You could even just drag across more rocky features. Maybe it's just a rocky meadow and it's like slabby rock and it's all just nice and slabby through here. Who knows? We can add in a little bit of dark over here in our shadow area. And just work with the knife to create some fun dynamic rocks and stones. Maybe we'll put another little rock here, something like that, with a highlight, titanium white, our mountain mixture, very simple marble color, and put that in. Now, the finishing pop, which is the part that I think makes the biggest difference but is often forgotten, is going to be this last pop of color, the second highlight. So I like to mix up a little bit of the sunshine color, yellow, ochre, and bright red, make a really great combination. And you can just flavor it all kinds of different colors. Or, you know what I mean, right? Darker peach, maybe you want a lighter peach, all kinds of stuff. So I like to take these fun, bright colors and just pop on a little bit on some of these tops to really give them a little bit of extra oomph. Maybe, you know, the sun is setting or it's just pretty red rock. It just really helps to kind of pick out some fun areas that's really going to be shining. And you can just make them pop just like that. Maybe right over here. A little bit of sun is just hitting on that. This one here. And right over here. We can bring it down. It's a little darker peach over here and just a few little sparkles. Isn't that nice? Well, let's bring a little bit of this shadow down and blend it in there. That works better there, huh? Good. All right. Palette knife rocks. See? Super easy, super effective palette knife rocks. You can do any size and shape. They're very rugged. It's always going to be dynamic, always changing. The temperatures of your paints will change it, the thicknesses of your paints, everything kind of gives it a different feel. So give that a try with your palette knife and let me know how it goes. Now, let's talk river rocks. These are totally different from the chunky palette knife boulder rocks that we were just doing. River rocks are smooth, they're rounded, and often they are kind of half submerged in water, which means that we have beautiful reflections. I'm going to use my sable brush today. You could also use a filbert brush if you would like to. It works really well. Just use it in the exact same way, and it'll work very, very similarly. I'm going to use my brush to just pull in some water from the edge. I want to put some more blue on there. I just want to give a little bit of an idea of some water here. Maybe something like that. And like this. Something, who knows, whatever. Something like that. I'm going to just wipe off that brush and softly blend this into something that we can set some rocks onto and into for our water scene. This is just a demonstration purpose, so these aren't going to be like ideal scenes, but I want to just give a scene, set it up. Okay, all right, for the river rocks, let's come down here to the palette, and we're going to use a lot of these same colors. We're going to use our dark color and our highlight colors, and then our top highlight colors. The important thing that we need to consider is our highlight color needs to be very thin. So we're going to get some liquid white and mix that into this highlight color. So we'll just use some of our brown, same brown mixture. I do want to grab some red just to kind of give it a little bit of something different. And we are going to use our dark sienna and Van Dyke brown with a touch of alizarin crimson. Those will be our darks. To paint this rock, we need to double load our brush. So we're going to load the brush on both sides with this dark first. This is essential. We have to get this thick, heavy paint to be sitting underneath. Then, instead of painting a rock and then painting a highlight, we are just going to dip right into this thin mixture that we've mixed up right here. So, double loading the brush. You can do this with your filbert brush. You can do this with a fan brush if you wanted to. Double load your brush, and on one side we drag it through the thin mixture. So now we have this light color right on top of the dark, and you can see the dark mixture still underneath there. Okay, now let's check out if we were going to put in some little stones, little river stones far away. All we do is put our highlight side up on the top, which our light's going to be coming from the left. Maybe we can do some of this to make it a little easier. Now we have it slightly lighter up on this corner just for our eyes on this simple demonstration here. Now I have my double loaded brush, my highlight thin paint facing my highlight color, my sunshine color, or where the sun is. And then we're going to push the corner of the brush into the canvas and give it a wiggle. Now I just put 3 rocks right on top of each other. Let's continue on this side and just keep layering some stones. And as you go, you'll have to turn your brush. You turn this highlight color into the canvas and it'll start picking up. Once you don't see a lot of highlight and you're kind of like, ooh, where'd it go? Where did it go? This is super important also. Reload both sides of the brush. Just go right back into your dark paint and clean it off so you still have that thick dark paint into our highlight. And we can just put some round, smooth stones. You see how smooth those are? That's nice. Dark, and then we go right into our light. It has to be thin, and it looks like it's just not quite thin enough. So I'm gonna mix it up and get a little bit more of my liquid white in there. Now it's a little bit thinner, and that's all you do. You find if it doesn't work, change it, and it's gonna work. Okay, double load, dark, dark, light, and let's give this a try. Oh wow, that's a shiny one. I don't know if I need it that bright, but we're gonna go with it. And we're just gonna keep layering these rocks right on top of each other. And we just curl that brush, push that highlight color right up into it. Now, this might be, maybe this is like a little bit of a bank into the water, and here's our water here. I think it's really, really easy just with this brush. Before reloading it, we can just come down and pull down some of these rocks. Now we have an instant reflection, and it's right there. Let's just finish this off. Dark, both sides, light, one side, and we'll put in a few more stones that just kind of put this whole thing dark, light, over here, dark, light. Just keep reloading it until you've layered your stones all the way to where you want them to be. Now, something really fun, if you are getting to this point, now I want to add a lot of highlight. We'll go right into, you can load this higher up into the brush and you'll get a little bit more. Maybe a few out here, who knows. We want to keep them seem like they're layered on top of each other. Then we will come in here, pull this down. One of my favorite ways to clean up these rocks, if you find that you aren't able to connect them all, you can just wipe off your brown on your towel. And I just lost my train of thought. You can just pick up a fan brush and go into a little bit of color with your fan brush and just kind of like tap in a few little grasses to clean up in these little areas. Maybe you want to just put in some grasses, something like that. And the fan brush can kind of help you clean it up. It'll pick up some of the color and throw it down on top. And maybe we'll just close it off like that. Who knows? This is just for fun. Now, let me show you the other side. This is kind of a hard part. We use our dark colors, load, double load the brush, and we get into our highlight color. And now our sun is kind of on top or on this, on the left-hand side. So we will take our stones and shape them with our highlight facing the sun, facing our light source. It's right on top. Double load, get darks, both sides, and drag it right through your nice thin paint. Now we have our highlight side always facing our sun or our light source, and we just plop them in. Dark. Maybe you want to use even a brighter color. You can use your bright sunshine color, thin it down, nice and good. Dark, and drag it right into your light. And you can come right out here and put in some rocks. Dark, has to be thin, nice and thin. Give it a little twirl, push that up. Now maybe we want to put some of these right out into the water, and let's just, for ease, we'll put them right in here. We've got dark, light. We'll put in some stones right out in the middle of the water right out here. Maybe something like that. Dark, dark, light. Maybe dark, light. Maybe this just kind of goes all the way out over here, something like this. Dark. Sometimes it gets a little lighter because we're mixing with all these colors, so we have to just go mix back in some darks. No big deal. Just push in some rocks. And back here, who knows? You can have whatever. Maybe you've got just some grass going into it. You can just shape out whatever you want. Then it's always fun to just pop in a few. I want this to be brighter, nice and thin. Some just some little stones with some nice bright colors on it. Okay? Use your dirty brush to pull down your reflections. Don't waste that paint. Use it up. Here we pulled these reflections down, each individually. Nice and easy. Now, all you do for rocks, water lines, anything is you pull your reflection down and go flat across. I like to use the big 2-inch brush for a lot of that because it just has so many bristles and it really gets a really nice soft effect. So I'm just going to come back here with the 2-inch brush and soften all of this. Soften it, soften that, soften this. Then we'll go straight across. Straight across. Maybe on these ones I'll get my small brush in here and just clean these up. This is really easy with the sable brush. It works really well. It looks like I wiped over this one rock, so we can just fix it. Just put in another one. Boop. Now, we've got a lovely little water scene here. What if we wanted, I don't know, maybe what if we wanted a big bouldery, but like smooth, because these are smooth rocks out here. So let's just get crazy. What if there's this big rock way out here? We can just paint it with the sable brush, give it some depth. Maybe it comes back and a little bit of midnight black and dark sienna. I want this just a touch dark. Maybe just to there. This is, you know, a big top over here, and then it kind of comes around, and then it just drops off on the back side here, and nice and soft. Now you can use a really similar technique to this where we were double loading the brush. It's a little bit harder when you want to do a nice big one with this small brush. So I'm just going to show you for when I said you can use a fan brush for this. I'm going to show you. Dark. You want to get all your dark, just like you have been. Double load your brush. This just works. Now we're going to drag one side into our highlight side. And with that side, we'll come over here and just put in our highlights. Dark, light. See how we just direct that light side right through it? And now maybe we're not going to have as much highlight over here. So we can just take our dark and go into our shadow color here. Let's get some liquid white and we'll thin this down just a touch. A little bit of blue. And you can give it a little bit of texture in here. Then come back with your thin mixture. Dark, light. And we'll just touch on a few, like this is just kind of glistening down. A little bit more light. Maybe we'll just give it a little bit more shape. Something like this. And I'm going to get some just thin down a little bit of our shadow color over here. We want some more blue in it so that it can be more shadowy, and some midnight black. It's kind of a fun mixture of a color there, but it's just thin. That's really the only thing that we need to worry about. We can just use this thin mixture to kind of wiggle in some shapes back here. Now this is something not related, so just pretend these two aren't together. But this is a nice way to get your highlight to kind of come down onto this rock. Then you use your 2-inch brush to kind of just soften all of this up. These are like for distant hills and stuff, which I'm just botching up, so maybe just don't do this. It's okay. Look, I'll show you how to fix it. Now we have another hill or another layer of rocks up here, and maybe something like that. Or just, yeah, don't do any of that, because that all sucks. I don't know what I was doing. I ruined it all. Okay, let's fix it. Sable brush, darks. We're going to put in some stones, dark and light. Maybe it's just they're going to come all the way down this hill. Dark and light. I'm going to show you how you ruin something and bring it back, I guess. Let's just scrape off a little bit of this thin paint because it's kind of interfering with me right now. So we'll just scrape some of this off. Grab some dark. We need to mix up a thick dark color. So we use all of our dark colors, double load it. Maybe we'll grab a little bit of our kind of shadow texture over here, since we are technically in the shadows over here. And let's just drag down. Some more river rocks, dark and light, dark and light. Ah! Look at this. I just ruined it all. And we're gonna fix it. I'm gonna get my bigger brush that I'm trying to throw on myself. And I'm going to just use this big brush. We'll use this big sable brush because we're doing soft river rocks. And let's just see if we can make this work for us. Bring that all the way down. None of this, this isn't working. I was trying to show you a fun way to do this and I just made it so much harder. But anyway, this is just not working. So use that example for those. And on this side, we're doing something different. Now that I already have this dark applied, we're still going to use this similar technique to kind of get the river rocks to be nice and smooth. But we need to pick up a thick paint because nothing is sticking. So we'll use a little bit of a thicker paint with some bright red and some of our brown mixture. Just mix those two on the brush, and we're going to use this to drag in our highlights. Load it up again. Maybe you get a little bit of a marble color, and use your thick paint on your brush to drag out some ideas. Now these are still nice and smooth river rocks, but that was just me kind of failing and then figuring it out. So now you all can see that like I don't do these perfect every time, but what we are doing is learning how to fix what happened and to make it better, right? So how do you recover from where you are? Now our highlights are all going to be on this favorable side, on this left-hand side, or on the top. But we'll use this as our shadow, kind of getting into that. And we'll pop on just a couple more highlights over here. Maybe just that many. And we'll just kind of build in a little bit of details, but not much. Now we'll use some titanium white and our dark mixture, pick up a touch of blue, thick gray, right? Nice thick gray mixture. And we're going to use this gray mixture to pull our other colors and our shadows in over here. And we just put in a few ideas. It does have to be nice and thick paint, and it needs to be lighter than what we already have on there. And you can just pull in a few little shadows. I do like to use the brush to soften this out. And then you can always throw on some more bits on here. Say a little bit more highlight. With your thick paint, we can just scrub on just a touch more on these outside areas like this. And it still gives us that smooth river rock feel while kind of being a little bit of a bigger stone. Now let's go back down into this lower section and redo these little river rocks, and we'll give this a new river's edge over here. We're just doing the same thing that we were doing earlier, mixing our dark with the light, but we have to fix this little mistake, which we don't have mistakes, we just have happy accidents, and this big boulder wanted to be there and show itself off like this. So anyway, here it is, and we're going to just pop in all these little stones. Maybe we've got a bunch of little ones right on the edge. They do almost always have that rounded look, so they're going to be round on the top. Maybe they have a little shape, but they'll be rounded on the top and kind of round on the bottom because of the way that the water shapes them. Now, we will do just a few more cleaning up here. We pull down our reflections again. Then we go across. Maybe we just need to connect these here. And this comes all the way down. Now, to finish this off, all we need to do is pick up some titanium white with a little bit of blue and thin it down. And we will cut off a roll of that paint, and you use this to scrape in our water line, and it just blends with all of those reflections that we put into the water. For these ones over here, we would just cut them right off, and these reflections will play into the water below. See that? Now they each have their own little water lines. They need to be flat, but they will have their own water lines. You just cut off a little roll of paint and put in a flat line at the bottom. This side might be a little trickier. Make sure we get that nice and flat there, and then maybe it comes in and back around here and here maybe. Then just to add some more fun, you can kind of just scrape in a few more water lines, maybe something out here, and you've got yourself some nice rocks with reflections. and a boulder that was so-so. I think I see one spot here on this boulder though. Let's just take a little bit of our highlight color and just give a little bit more shape. Something like that. Maybe thick. This is just thick paint, and we just get this thick paint to drag right on top. And now we've got all kinds of fun little bit of smooth, fun river rocks over here. All right, time for some salty air. Ocean rocks are a little worn down by the waves, so they're often smoother, but still have a big sense of character. I'm going to start with a really deep mix, and then we're going to layer that with some blues and a little bit of sunlight on top. So it's going to be really fun. Again, for this canvas, I do have liquid white on it, but I'm just going to put a little bit of blue so that we can have some color for our eyes. And this one, we have an ocean. I'm just going to do an ocean kind of out on the left over here. And we'll just kind of soften that out. Something really simple. And let's just blend this a little bit out, just like that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our dark sienna and Van Dyke brown, just a touch of that. This is going to be the start of our sand mixture. It's really, really important when we're doing beaches and sand that we put the dark still. The dark is the most important part to make anything that's light show and have good character and variety. So we put a little bit of brown. Now, I like to take the fan brush and use a little bit of my dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, and alizarin crimson, and just right in this corner I'm just going to kind of wiggle in a little bit of darker, kind of sandy feel. It just gives a little bit of texture and kind of breaks it up, because the water is going to give all of these fun little varieties to the sand and the texture over here. Now we'll just soften this out by lifting it up, and I'm going to go across this way. And I want to soften out my sand line just a little bit more where it intersects with the water. So we're just going to soften all of that out. Now I think sand and speckly sand and stuff is just as important as painting rocks in the water. So we're going to first paint some rocks in the water, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to paint the sand out here. For the rocks, we do basically the same stuff that we've been doing with our dark colors. Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, but I want to put a little bit of blue in here. So we have a nice dark blue-brown color, and we're going to use this in any variety. If you want to use and make some roundish, kind of more rivery style rocks, you definitely can, but I think the knife makes some of the best rocks for water. This is just going to be one rock in the water, and we'll do a little water line and finish it off. Our highlight side is still going to be on this left-hand side. So we're going to take our mountain mixture and mix it with, or our rock mixture and mix it with white. Now, this is the rock mixture we use for the water, so it's going to have all of the watercolors on it. And let me get this a little bit more helpful for you and zoom in like I did on all the other ones. Now, let's add a little bit of highlight to that with our rock color and titanium white. We just drag out that little roll of paint right out onto the rock, clean it off. And I want to mix up one more color that's very dark, Has just a touch of titanium white and a little bit more blue. Nice dark color here. And we'll use this as our shadow color right on this back side. We want to have that dimension. We need this other color. We'll pull a little bit of this into our water. And for ocean scenes, I really like to scrape it through and get a good bit of that in there. Now, just for fun, we'll throw in a little bit of a water feature with this. Because we're doing ocean rocks, we need to have some ocean. And I think probably let's just stick with the easiest way. We'll use our palette knife, cut off a little roll of paint, and we want to make a medium texture gray. Medium texture gray. So we can take our mountain mix and just mix it with titanium white and a touch of liquid white, and we're going to have a medium texture gray. Cut off a roll of your medium texture gray, and we're going to give a little bit of a waterline to this rock, kind of on this back side. This is as if the water is being pulled back this way over the rock. Now, this is going to be our start of our sand, so we need to make this reflection really nice and soft. So with your 2-inch brush, you just pull it straight down and go across. And now you have this beautiful dark area here that's really setting that stone in. We need a little bit more dark right here, so I'm just going to pull some of that down. There we go. Now we go straight across. Now, let's just, for sake of understanding our perspective here, our water line is going to be coming all the way down this way and in front. This is just my medium texture gray that I used here. Maybe there's going to be one more water line that comes right here, right in front of this one. Now, to make this all go together, all we do is pull back on some of our water here. Pull straight back and pull straight back. Now we have a nice little rock in the water. And if you wanted to, you can even put water onto the other side by putting a wave back here. You could even pull water kind of like it's being pulled up and over. Maybe your water is coming up here and it's splashing up here. And we have some water just splashing right behind this rock. You can just use your palette knife to put in a little bit of water and get a nice thick amount. Just pull a little bit right over the top. And we can drop some of that foam in just like that. Nice and simple. Another stone, shall we, in the water? I'll show you another one just so we can get some practice. Maybe you've already put your water line in and you want to put in a stone. Maybe you just put your stone in something like this. Nice and dark. Pull down a little bit into the water. Grab a little bit of our gray mixture. A little bit of our highlight. And we've got a rock. We just need to give it a nice reflection, which we'll use a smaller brush for. And then you can just use your palette knife to clean up the bottom here. Get a little bit of our water and put in a water line right at the bottom. And you can just add these anywhere into your scenes, as long as you put a little water line outside of it and kind of just let it set right back down into the canvas, it's good to go. Bigger waves out here, who knows? That doesn't matter, but I just wanted to show you a few little rocks out into the water to get their reflections. Now, for the sand, this is something that I think is really, really fun. I like to take the fan brush and kind of get some variety into the sand. So we're just going to kind of pretend that our sand is all the way down here. We'll give it a little bit more with the dark. Kind of bring it up here. Maybe we've got just some nice flat sands out here, just nice and smooth and pretty. I'll just bring this. I like to take the dark on a fan brush and we thin it down nice and thin, nice and thin, very, 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 very thin. It has to be super thin like water. And then we can take and do some speckles of our dark. We just flick it right off of the brush. A little bit thinner. Maybe liquid white and yellow ochre. Little brush wash, must be thin. Bright red. I love, love, love doing this in the corners of my seascapes. It's so fun. It gives such a great look. You can just tap it out with your brush, however much you want to or don't want to. I like to just kind of soften it out because it helps it to dry, and then you can kind of blend them together a little bit. Isn't that just a fun and unique way to do something completely different? I love it. I love, 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 love that look so much. And as it dries, it just gets more, it just kind of develops over time. I'm gonna do just another little water line in here, kind of clean this off. I'm getting a really thin paint, and I just wanna do another little water line out here. It looks like I need to make that thinner, just to kind of show how the sand can really just play up this ocean scene here. Isn't that fun? Just some medium texture, medium body white. Now we just pull back these water lines just a little, kind of soften them together. And there you have it, a nice little sandy beach. Isn't that cool? It really reminds me of a beach that I used to go to when I was a kid, and it had a bunch of lava a rock everywhere, and you would just find these little round pebbles all over the sand and the beach, and they were all kinds of different sizes of little pumice rock, and it was just so cool because they were just, you know, sprinkled everywhere. I mean, it wasn't as cool for your feet, but either way, it was really fun. So anyway, if you'd like, you could even come back in and do a little bit lighter right on the top, like just a touch more. And we have a lot of variety there. Oh, and I really just love that. That looks so cool. Just a little bit of a tab. Oh, fun, 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 fun. Give that a try. Let me know. Now, last but not least, we're going to do rocks in a meadow. These ones are often covered in moss or half hidden in the grass and definitely weathered by time. So the trick here is to paint the grass first and then do the rocks, and they kind of nestle down into the entire painting, and it just kind of brings it all together. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that. I'm going to start off this tiny little scene. We just have some liquid white on here. I'm going to pick up some browns and a little bit of crimson, kind of some nice warm tones here, and just get a little bit of land kind of showing up out here. Nice and simple. I like to use the fan brush a ton to just get some really, really simple grasses into the background. So to do that, you can just push up with your fan brush and let these grasses come right out. We're pushing up with the corner of the brush and pulling back. And different ways will give you different bits. So this one I was pushing really hard. This one I wasn't pushing as much, so you can see the variety that you can get. Maybe we'll just do a few more. And we'll kind of just connect this through, getting a little bit of crimson and our browns. And we'll leave it like that. Now, you can do smooth river rocks with your sable brush, but I love using my palette knife, so we're just going to use that for this particular exercise so I can show you how this is going to work. I'm going to clean off a little bit of this liquidy stuff and mix up some highlights and shadows using our brown mixture that we just mixed up. We've got all of our darks in here. So we have our crimson, our midnight black, our dark sienna, and Van Dyke brown. Those are all mixed up into that. And we want to have a little bit of a highlight color. So we have some titanium white and our mountain mixture, and then we'll do some mountain mixture, titanium white, and blue. Let's make this one a little bit more marbled, titanium white, and our mountain mixture. There we go. Now, highlight color is going to be on the left, but first we must put in our rocks. Silly goose, Kaylee. Now we have all of these little grass features. Let's set some rocks in, just kind of here and there. We'll give a few ideas. Maybe one out there. Maybe one right here. Now we'll come in and do a few little highlights on the grass with some Indian yellow and liquid white. Just go right into your thin colors, maybe pick up a little bright red too, and we'll touch on some highlights. These are kind of some of the grasses slightly behind our rocks. Then we can come in and put a little bit of a highlight on our rocks. A little bit of an idea. We're just cutting off a tiny bit of paint and going down on that outside for our highlight. Then we'll take our script liner and go into a nice thin bright color, and we'll throw in a few little strands just kind of right in front, sort of. There we go. Just pull those right out. Isn't that nice? Maybe we want to do, let's grab just a touch of green, and we want to do like a little bit of a flat area here. And we want to throw in some rocks into that. Then we can just take our dark, put it right in where we want it. We have our grasses standing up behind the rocks, which is important. And then we highlight. And put our grasses out in front. Maybe we can pull some right down in the very front of our rocks by just tapping a little bit below it. And we just set them right into that land. Isn't that nice? Let's do just a touch more. A little bit of dark. Little bit of dark. Dark, dark, dark. Gotta have the dark first. Always start with the dark. Mix up some of our browns for our stones. Then we put our stones in. Then we want to highlight it. Just using the same colors, all of the same stuff. Touch of our highlight colors. Get right into that, and we just set them right down in there. Isn't that fun? Now, you can even take some of these grasses with your fan brush and lift. Then finish that with a little bit of a highlight with some little grasses just right out. And they just push everything back. You can even come in with some dark grasses too if you want. Something that's gonna contrast here. Maybe we've got just like this big meadow up here and there's all kinds of grasses, and maybe you just want to do some more of that. Got a little bit of some flowers down here, and just get some fun. Check it out. Rocks in a meadow. Isn't that fun? Well, I'd say aside from this top one where I kind of botched up for a minute some of my round rock, I think the rest of this turned out pretty neat, huh? And there you have it. 4 totally different ways of painting rocks for 4 totally different kinds of scenes. I really hope that you give these a try and let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. If you have any further questions for painting rocks, please let me know in the comments below, or you can email me at contactme@KayleeRakowski.com. Thank you all for joining me. Smile and be happy, friends.